going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay. All righty, so once again, welcome to our session. This is Finding Your Best Fit. I think this is the first session for UCAN. So we are so excited for everyone to truly join us and learn about college exposure, what to do during this process. We're going to be able to give you a lot of great tips on figuring out programs, academic sessions, and it's more than just about school and the academic program and finding your fit. You have to know about size, where it's located, what the culture's like, the type of school, and just so much more. And I'll have Malik go ahead and take over while I switch the slide.
All right, well, yeah, again, Malik the Just, Bethune-Cookman, again, happy to be here to share some information with you guys. Excited about this opportunity to kind of give you guys some clarity and options as you guys navigate through this fall term, as you guys are looking at colleges and looking at options. And again, with this new COVID challenge, now creates a new opportunity and where it widens in the range as far as what do I consider, or what location of that school do I consider, given how the COVID is affecting that particular city or state. So many options, and again, a lot of new opportunities for students across the country.
So once again, and I don't think I introduced myself, but my name is Catherine Hamlin. My friends, students, colleagues all call me Miss Cat. And so I've had the pleasure of working at Spelman for the past 5 years as an admissions counselor, and I've served numerous territories. And I am currently the West Coast Territory Manager as well as the Southwest Territory Manager. And so I look forward in presenting today. And Malik, I'm not sure if you would like to introduce yourself as well.
Sure. My name is Billy Malik the Just. I'm a graduate of Bethune-Cookman. I serve as the Interim Director of Admissions. I pretty much cover every area, undergraduate admissions, graduate admissions, international admissions, transfer admissions. We can assist in any particular fashion, and we look forward to sharing as much information with you as possible. And it's again a pleasure to be here with you today.
All right, so let's go ahead and get this thing started, okay? So first and foremost, once again, this session is all about finding your fit. Now, first, when it comes to finding your fit, you have to understand a little bit about what you're looking for in the college admissions process. And I know there are hundreds and hundreds of colleges to really think about. And so right now we're going to break down first and foremost the foundation of what you're looking at, what an institution, what type of institution you might be considering or applying to. And so I'll start off with first and foremost, understand the difference between a college and a university. Now, we are Spelman College. I represent Spelman College. Malik represents Bethune-Cookman University. Now, some of the differences between the colleges and university sections might be in size. Usually colleges are a little bit more smaller. Universities seem to be a little bit more bigger, more larger. Universities also offer a variety of both undergraduate and graduate degree programs, where specifically some smaller colleges like Clark Atlanta University, I know it's a university, but they're still a smaller school. Also, when it comes to Morehouse College, when you're thinking about Spelman College, those tend to be just have your baccalaureate degree level. And you also have four-year universities or four-year colleges. And so you have a variety of colleges and universities that might be four-year programs. Now, you also have community colleges. Community colleges usually represent two-year institutions or two-year colleges. And so with that, you have a variety of ways to either enter, like Malik said, he also knows a little bit more about the transfer process. And I've said a little bit of some transfer process myself. A lot of students might transition either from a four-year college or university or from a community college. And so it all depends on what you're looking for and the best route for either you to go to college or you picking a college or a university. At the end of the day, we can break down a little bit about some of the details of what you might see. And Melissa would like to take over private and public.
No, most certainly. Yeah, private schools, public school, liberal arts, etc. Private institution like Bethune-Cookman, my colleague just mentioned, we are of smaller size. I mean, I started at a public school at Florida State University, which is much larger than Bethune-Cookman. I actually struggled in that environment because I wasn't ready for a school that size. Classes of 200 students or more was somewhat troubling for me. I had to get kind of adjust to that whole process. So after a year, my parents convinced me to look at a private college. So those private institutions offer something different than public schools. They both are wonderful options. You yourself have to determine what is best for you. What is the best learning environment where you're going to be successful? Because again, this is an investment you're making about yourself and about your future. How do I best take advantage of that environment? Can I succeed? Can I dwell and I do well in wherever I'm at? So I believe every option is great. It's just depending on finding that fit for you with your background, with your high school experiences, and what you're looking for may be the best way to kind of look at those options. Go and visit or take virtual tours and ask questions. How many people will be in my classroom? So you can get an idea of what you're getting yourself into. You don't want to get there and experience that for the first time as a big surprise, and you're overwhelmed with a class of 200 students in an auditorium. You're like, wow, this is totally different from high school. So do your homework early, do your research, so you can make sure you're in the right program. But Bethune-Cookman is also a liberal arts college. We fall in both categories. We're private and we're also liberal arts. So we offer different avenues to kind of make things happen. Liberal arts college is really big. We have liberal studies as a field of study as well for those students who still kind of figure out what they wanted. So many options that we'll be able to break down for you and give you more details as we move forward.
Awesome. And also, when you're talking about liberal arts colleges, you also might be thinking about some interests that might be different, like women's comparative studies or studies, philosophy, anthropology. And so when you're thinking possibly about maybe what that might look like, it's really about having an interdisciplinary avenue or way of thinking. So it builds you on your critical thinking skills, the way of thinking, the way of teaching, the way that you're learning, where in a major specific area such as School of Engineering or School of Journalism, you might be specifically learning. For me, I went to North Carolina A&T, and so it was a public institution with large, but at the same time, my classes, the college I was in was smaller. So although I was at art school, I was at a smaller college area of what I was studying. So it gets quite interesting depending on how large the college, where it is. But at the end of the day, one of the things I would like to encourage you to do is have a variety of colleges you're looking at. Currently, this is a historically Black college virtual fair. And so you're already learning a little bit about HBCUs, but also because of where you're located, you also might have heard about Hispanic speaking institutions as well, and your Ivy League schools. So please consider all options when applying for college. Don't just apply to one school. I did that. I cannot believe.
So did I.
I can't believe that. Applied to one school, and I'm like, this, and I was so excited. This is where I'm going to be. I just saw it, and I'm so glad that that was my choice. But if I could tell my younger self, give yourself some more options. Just it'll build your confidence. It'll build your experience, and just being able to visit and see different places are just going to be amazing for you.
That is correct. I did the same thing. I applied to one college and I lasted 1 year. So go figure. So my recommendation for every senior, try to be admitted to at least 5 schools by Christmas, by the Christmas holidays. That way you can have those 5 options where you can sit at home with your family during the break and figure out what makes the most sense. Do they have my program? Do I love the location? Do I have any scholarship opportunities? How well is that program succeeding at that university? So you can sit at home during the holidays and kind of break down those options and figure out how to proceed in the new year. So that's a recommendation for every senior that is following us tonight.
Now, when we're talking about fit, you also have to think about campus demographic, and Malik just hit on a few of those things. Your population, how big do you want your classrooms to be? Are you okay with succeeding in a smaller classroom or a bigger classroom size? I had a biology class and had about 100 students in that class. I could not. That was just me. Anything can get my attention. I hear music, I hear talking. I want to.
Yeah.
And so when I'm thinking about what you really need to succeed, not what you like, but what you really need to succeed. And so think about your campus population, how big the school is, think about where it's located. And so I went to school in a very small suburban town, Greensboro, North Carolina. was it. We were the city, okay? And that's just the way that I like to look at it. Now, we had a few other colleges around, but to me, the way that I looked at it, that was where I went. I mean, we had a mall, we had a little downtown area, but going somewhere like Atlanta or going to a city like Miami, those are different locations and cities that are thriving in very different ways. And that is something that you want to think that brings about numerous opportunities and Fortune 500 businesses and traveling opportunities that you might get at a smaller university and somewhere smaller, but I would say marketing and exposure in those cities also really help.
Now, to that point, you also have to be careful as an incoming freshman who's moving into a new city, moving into a new state. You have to be prepared for that challenge. Again, being in a big city will create a lot of distractions as a freshman. So again, you have to kind of weigh those options and figure out, okay, can I truly handle being in a city like Atlanta, being in a city like Miami, or would I best serve myself and actually be in a smaller town? Because those bigger towns have more distractions, which can kind of hinder your success for your freshman year, which is critical to your success in college. So again, awesome opportunity, but also be mindful of those challenges and those hurdles that will come your way as well, moving into a big city.
Great point. And one of the things to consider when you're thinking about possibly city and location is also mobility. So specifically transportation, how are you able to get around a city? As a freshman, yes, you will be on campus, but at the same time, you might want to explore if you're in a new location. If you're a little bit away from home and you're not used to the city, does it have a MARTA station, a bus station? What is the security, in a sense, like on campus and off campus of the city? And that is something so important to be able to talk about, is what does the security or what does the campus look like, specifically in the times that we're in now? Also thinking about the facilities on campus. I know me and Malik, we had a nice laugh about debunking some of the myths, specifically about historically colleges and universities. And so some of the myths that we might see is, oh, the institutions are they're so old, they're not updated. Like, talk a little bit about that.
Oh yeah, I've heard my share of that. But really, honestly, you got to look at the historic value of those facilities. I mean, some buildings are valuable to not only the community, but the alumni. So the alumni, I think once you get to know why we keep some of these buildings, I think you understand the value of what they bring. They kind of represent something bigger than what you're looking for. So again, there's some value to it. That you may not realize it as a student, but as I get older, I kind of realize that. As a student, I said the same thing. I was like, man, these buildings are kind of, man, can we get some new facilities? But once you learn the history behind where this building came from, it kind of set the foundation to who we are today. So it's a reminder of where we came from, is the struggles at how we got started, and the responsibility that we have now to carry that torch to the next phase of our lives. So again, very good point. But again, try to understand the value and the history behind some of these older facilities to figure out why do campuses still have them. And I think once you get that understanding, it may make more sense, and you may understand the value behind that.
And they are renovated. Don't think that they're stuck from
Correct.
1980 or 1881 when some of us were founded. So understand, take your time in knowing, visit the campus. Most of all, that's what we're saying throughout the campus demographic. See how big the campus is. What is the student teacher ratio? Am I going to know who my teacher is, or am I going to know the graduate assistant? So really feel free to break in and understand the campus diversity. Yes, we are historically Black colleges and universities. However, we are so diverse. We're not
That's right.
of just one thing or blob of just something. No, we come from so many different places. You have in-state and out-of-state students, international students from all over. And so really understand your heritage. One of the great things about, I think, most historically Black colleges and universities is you will have a first year experience class that will get you used to what it will be like to be successful in the class, and show you a little bit of some different unique characteristics that the school has specifically for itself, and also some institutional values that we carry along with us, some morals and some values, and understanding who we are while we're still standing, and why we continue to bring and build upon the legacy. So those are some things to really keep in mind.
Go ahead. You got it.
So when it comes to academic programming, one of the things that I would tell you is when determining what colleges to apply for, consider your ideal academic experience. Okay. My ideal academic experience is very different from when I was 18. Now I love one-on-one. I honestly can do online classes. I like being able to work autonomously. I don't necessarily need someone to micromanage me, but my 18-year-old self needed time management. I needed to be in the classroom. I didn't always need to be around my classmates. I'm talkative, as you see. And so I loved being able to enjoy that. And so with my academic program, I had to figure out, well, what classes are best for me? What academic major is going to be best in my learning environment?
And to that point,
Go ahead.
to that point, that's a very good point. Again, many of our incoming freshmen oftentimes sometimes they feel the pressure of figuring out what is it I want to do? What do I want to major in? I'm not sure, so many options. I want to say something that sounds good to my parents and my parents could be happy. I know I did that. I came in as an engineer major because in the early 2000s, it sounded good. You had the Y2K experience. So anything computer related felt like something I should jump into. But that wasn't really my interest. Once I got here, I realized quickly that mathematics was a weak point for me. So I think that first semester or first year in college, taking those general studies courses, I think kind of give you an idea of where some of your strengths may be in college and what are some of the areas that you may want to tap into. And you'll find out your weaknesses really quickly, as you get to this pretty much every year, wanting to go into the nursing field. And after the first semester, I mean, if you're struggling with biology, that might be a red flag to maybe kind of reconsider, because biology should be pretty basic for you if you're wanting to be a nurse. So certain areas require a certain set of skills, and you don't want to just half do it, because this is going to be something you want to enjoy, a career. You want to enjoy waking up every day to enjoy that field, not something that's going to, because of the pay or something that makes your mom or dad happy. I know that's very, trending, but you want to make sure you find something that you're going to enjoy for the rest of your life. So very key. You don't have to know what you want to do when you get to college. You'll figure it out within that first year for sure.
Yes. And one of the things about finding and thinking about your academic program is knowing that you don't have to know exactly what you want to major in. If you want to take some time, some colleges don't need you to declare a major until maybe your sophomore, the end of your freshman year. So take into mind what schools you need to have your major for. Are you applying to the entire college or the entire university? Are you applying to a specific program? Colleges like University of Berkeley, they need you to apply to Berkeley first and then apply to the business program as a sophomore. So you really need to understand what the college is looking for. Is it an entry process to getting into that nursing program, to getting into that business program or that engineering program? The one thing I also would like to make sure you understand is undergraduate programs versus graduate programs. I really need you all to do some research on what you want to do. Okay, I get, hey, I want to be a doctor, but being a doctor also goes with a major of biology, biochemistry, possibly on a pre-med track. Okay,
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
Some programs might not have pre-med as a major because they might not have a medical school or a graduate program associated to that. They might just be a college that just has 4 years and you graduate and then you apply to a medical program. When it comes to that, understand they just have undergraduate programs. Align your major and align your outcome with one another and you'll really find success.
Very good point. Very good point. One thing I'd like to touch up on the undergraduate with the graduate programs. What I've found over the years is I think HBCUs do a great job of preparing you in the undergraduate level. Many of our students come into college not prepared and not knowing exactly what to expect. I think because HBCUs are most often smaller in size, you have enough time to kind of have that hands-on experience where these advisors and these counselors will kind of guide you and kind of walk you through the process and build your confidence and build those skills and sharpen those skills. And I think you can transition then to any institution around the country for graduate studies, because once you leave an HBCU, there's a certain level of preparation and confidence that you have where you feel like now I can take on anything. If I can get through these 4 years here, now I'm pretty much, I can attack the world. So I found that route, it also gives you some balance. It gives you some balance. You've had a bit of that HBCU experience. Now you're able to kind of transition into a larger institution, which is even more diverse, which is you're going to have to face that in the real world as well. So I think having a balance of both gives you a solid foundation, which you'll be able to use further into your career.
And last but not least, when you're thinking about your college fit and academic programs, once again, don't just pick a school that's popular. Pick a school that's best for your academic interests and your best for academic program. Okay, it might not be the college that you thought of you might want to do marine biology. Okay, I thought marine biology is closer to water, and so there are certain programs where you might be thinking, "Hey, I want to go to DC. I want to go to Howard. Does Howard have a marine biology program?" It's important to really make sure and understand that, just like Malik said, you can transition after you graduate. One thing I will tell you is you can only get that HBCU experience. You can get it once, and you might be twice in a graduate program, but it's nothing like it in an undergraduate.
And one thing I've seen,
wisely.
choose wisely though. It's funny you say that, because one thing I've noticed, which is so funny to me, some students will select the college based on that program. You know, I want to be a pre-med major. Then you select that school, and then within a semester, you change your major. So it defeats the whole purpose of choosing that school. So again, that's why that homework is so critical. Do your homework ahead of time. You don't want to choose a college, okay, now I found the program that I think I want, and then 6 months later, you change majors, which kind of like, wow, the reason I came here was for pre-med. Why am I studying English 6 months later? So do your research early so you're not wasting time and energy. Because one thing I learned the hard way, transferring from a public school to a private school or vice versa, oftentimes you will lose some college credits. You know, I transferred as a sophomore, but when I came here to BCU, which is a private school, I lost almost nine credit hours. So make sure you do those research and find out if you're going to transfer, try to keep it in that same family from private to private school or from public to public schools, which gives you a better chance of transferring your credits with you within that first year.
Great points. All right, now let's get to campus resources. So what unique resources did a college or university have to help a student? All right, there are a variety of campus resources I think that we all have to offer: study abroad, tutorial services, graduate school relations, career planning and development. But the most important thing is to pay attention to what they are doing in these programs, not just that they have these offices. Exactly what career opportunities, if it's career, what opportunities are they bringing to campus? Are this engaging in learning opportunities? Is there a freshman success program? Are they doing mock interviews? What are they doing in these campus resources to help you be successful in your matriculation as you go from freshman year to year? One of the things that I also will encourage all students to know is not just the programs that are great for your academic resources, but also programs that are dedicated for your living resources on campus, specifically counseling services. The school that you're attending, I know most historically Black colleges and universities, we have a strong emphasis on wellness and a strong making sure that your mental well-being is top of mind. And so there's several programs, specifically a variety of different institutions that are there for you to have one-on-one counseling sessions or group counseling sessions with possibly a counselor, with an advisor, or someone that can help you understand what you're feeling, what you're going through, and know that you're not alone. And so it's important to know how to access these resources. Specifically, just put it out there. Any safety issues? Are you able to get to safety? Are you able to have an emergency? If there's an emergency on campus, what are the resources on campus?
Very good point. I think you touched on that health, the counseling services, which right now it's paying dividends. I'm quite sure on pretty much every campus that are currently seeing students face to face. You know, right now with the challenges with the COVID-19 challenges and students having to navigate and having Zoom classes and not having as much social interactions. That's something I know many schools are having to deal with, and students are kind of getting bored, getting tired of being on a computer. Most of them have been on there since midway through their senior year. and now transitioning into college, you're back on front of a computer during Zoom classes. That can take a toll on your mental wellness. So I know that's many colleges, I've talked to many of my colleagues, that's something that is being addressed throughout the nation, as far as making sure we do provide those services, sit down and have that one-on-one conversation and figure out how we can assist, how colleges can assist you deal with mental health, mental health issues. If you're getting kind of like down on yourself, you're kind of like tired, this is not what I expected college to be, especially this semester. It's something that I think we're seeing a lot more of. So, you know, if you haven't experienced that, that's something you also want to consider to make sure that college, that university that you're thinking about does offer these services just in case it comes in handy down the line.
So ask questions, folks. Go to these tables, ask them questions, know about, sometimes it's not easy to navigate the college fairs and the arenas. And we do have some questions at the end of this presentation that you can jot down to help you as you navigate this UCAN fair. And so you need to know, what resources do you need to succeed? And what experiences also would you like to have? And so that brings me to beyond the classroom. And so beyond the classroom is more than just student organizations. So beyond the classroom, of course, hits on experiential learning, student life and engagement, and professional development. I would like to first talk about your experiential learning, research, internship, study abroad, domestic exchange, and cross registration. So this is really for you to learn outside of the classroom, not just inside of the classroom, not just connected to your college of choice. There might be research opportunities that might have mentorship programs, okay, such as the RISE program or GSTEM programs, where you can meet beyond the classroom with faculty and staff. Maybe it's study abroad. Study is one of the things I wish I would have done. I wish I would have done when I was in school. If you can do it, please see how many students at your school is studying abroad. Where are they going? What are they doing? Are they doing different research? How is the student body encouraging you to pursue something different than just to your class, your 3 classes a day, and off campus?
Very good.
Really push yourself.
I love this topic here because this is, to me, something that I think HBCUs as a whole need to promote more. Studying abroad is something that is huge. I mean, right now it may be a little challenging with these, again, COVID-19 again, kind of putting a hurdle in front of us. But I think it's something, for me, it was by far my favorite experience in college. You know, I went the first year, I had so much fun. I kept going back. I went every summer. I was in France, enjoying that experience. And, you know, every year now we're sending 50 students overseas to enjoy that experience. So whatever college you guys are planning to attend or university, please, please, please consider that experience. You will never regret it. As you heard from Ms. Cat herself, she wished you would have done it.
I wish.
And trust me, once you graduate, you will not have an opportunity to do a 6 weeks program abroad, because life will happen. You're either going to be in grad school or you're going to have a job or a career. It's going to be difficult to take 6 weeks off in the summer to go abroad. So something that I kind of always dreamed about as a student in high school, watching movies and saying, wow, these guys are actually going abroad. I would love to have that experience. That's pretty cool. So for me, I enjoy that. I was always excited about it. It's something I always thought about. So if you're one of those guys, trust me, you have to have that experience. It's something that I've talked to my president about, making sure, how can we make that mandatory for our students prior to graduating to have that experience. I think it's that critical. Just the aspect of learning how do I even apply for a passport? You know, many of our students don't even know where to begin. So leaving the state sometimes is the furthest they've gone. So thinking about going outside the country is not even in our mindset. And what you realize when you go overseas, American students are the only population of students who only speak one language. Every 19, 20-year-old around the world, they know their native language, they speak English, and they are learning a 3rd and a 4th language. And I always share that with my students here and say, hey guys, imagine you have a business and here's this student with a 4.0 who speak English, or is a student with a 3.0 who speak 4 languages. Based on the business you have, I've seen 4.0 students get overlooked because, you know, there are many of those. There's quite a few 4.0 students out there, but how many people of color or how many people, males, do you know that speak a 2nd or a 3rd language or have had that experience. So not many students, not too many of us who grew up in America that have not traveled outside the US can actually have a 30-minute conversation in a different language. So it's something we've got to, I believe, we got to step our game up in that area because it's becoming a more competitive market for career. And especially now with what's happening, you need that skill. Sometimes it means more than having a higher grade on average, for sure.
And that's all about finding your fit and knowing, really being able to know what what experiences do you want to have? Really get outside of the box when it comes to college. It truly is about a 4-year, depending on your major and depending on your life, on your livelihood. It could be 4 to 6 years. Now, 4 years, most likely for students to graduate on time. That's our goal. Now, understand in that 4 years, all the things and the wealth of knowledge that you can be able to build upon it is more than just getting a GPA, but really building you from the inside out and knowing that you're amazing, knowing your foundation, building your confidence, and knowing that you can succeed and also compete in this world that we're in. Technology, things are taking over. So you want to be able to add something more than just, okay, you can do a math problem. Okay, you can be able to research paper. You need also to be able to have some experiences and communicate and be able to have some things that get you outside of the box so you can be able to talk about them in your interviewing process. And that brings me to professional development and conferences. Lunch and Learn series, speaker series, and workshops. I wish, this is another thing, I took advantage of free conferences, but not the way that I should have. I watched these young ladies. Alice Walker comes on campus. I mean, you just have Michelle Obama. I mean, just walking through just with air. And I'm like, I wish as a student, I could have sat down. I would have been running to the front of the line to be mentored, to have a opportunity to talk to some of these women and men and leaders and entrepreneurs that come specifically to HBCUs. Spike Lee is always at Morehouse to go and mentor students of the arts at Morehouse. And so when you're thinking about professional development at your school and choosing your fit, what are they attracting? What are they? The city, the location is important, but also it's about what are they attracting? What programs how are they succeeding? Are they giving you free work conferences? Are you having Lunch and Learn series? Are you able to take advantage of speaker series and workshops on a Saturday, on a Sunday, beyond just a classroom experience?
Yeah, touching on that, the student org as well, I think is something that we would like to encourage every student. Again, you will hear from many parents that, hey, remember, you're going to college to learn. You're not going to play, you're going to hear that. But the reality is you guys are going to have some type of social life once you guys get on campus. And that's important. You need to have that balance because college could be a bit stressful, especially when you get to your upper level classes. So getting involved with those student orgs, I think, are critical. You know, join different clubs on campus, especially if you have a leadership dream, if you have those aspirations to becoming a leader. I think as soon as you get on campus, you want to get around those upperclassmen who serve in those positions, SGA, senior class president. And I think if you get around these guys, it will kind of paint a picture for you as to how you want to spend the next 4 years. Because it's my personal opinion that those two most important things when you arrive at college is the friends you have in college and are you able to manage your time? If you can handle these two minor details, I think college becomes much more fun and easy. Where if you have the wrong friends and you're not able to manage your time, I mean, I've seen valedictorians flunk out of college because they couldn't follow those two simple steps. So again, critical that you guys stay on top of that, get involved and follow the leaders that are currently there on the campus and making sure you're on the right track to success there.
All right. So Going on top of course, student organizations, there's also another category which is athletics. So I'm not well versed in the many athletics because at Spelman College currently we do not have sports. Now we do have wellness. We have many intramural sports where students can still get involved, but we don't have competitive. We're not a part of a Division I, Division II, or Division III. So please let us know a little bit about the importance of fit in athletics. Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, athletics for sure is a huge part of the college experience. As you guys can see every weekend, you know, every channel is pretty much there's a football game on, whether from Alabama to Clemson to UGA, you know, they're all over your screen. Again, big part of that college experience, especially at an HBCU, because having an athletic team and a marching band is almost mandatory for certain HBCUs, because that draw is something, it's an experience like no other. So I think being involved in athletics is pretty cool. Division I athletics, some of the things, if you're thinking about joining any athletic program, make sure you guys Google the NCAA clearance process, because there's a form that you need to complete to submit to the NCAA to allow you, based on that GPA and test score that you have in high school, which will give you clearance to not only play in NCAA or Division I athletics, but to even try out for one of those teams. So something that people don't really think about, it's not like high school, you can just show up and just say, I want to try out for the team. There's a process in place where you got to get cleared from NCAA, where they can check your background and say, this guy is legit, you've done your part, now we can give you that clearance before the coaches will even talk to you. So do your homework there, find out what those requirements are, find out when tryouts are going to take place. Can you be invited to certain tryout opportunities? Sometimes they have summer camps where they can invite you to take part of that summer program and test your skills to see if you are potentially can be, you know, can you make the team, or based on your position, you know, do your homework, find out, hey, if you play running back, do they need a running back this year? Do they have 2 or 3 already there? Maybe that won't be the best year to join because you may have to sit for 2 or 3 years. So scholarships, just receiving the scholarship is one thing. You want to look into those options and see how can I earn that scholarship and also maintain it, because your academic performance is going to play a role not only to maintain that scholarship, but also to keep your NCAA clearance up to date. Because if it goes below a certain grade point average, you can also become ineligible to play to get on that field. So these are all things that you guys will hear throughout the process. So make sure you reach out to the coaches of the schools that you're considering and let them know of your interest. Google that NCAA clearance process, get that information in, so that way you've done your homework before talking to the coaches. They're going to be impressed by that you've done your homework already, you've got your clearance, and now you're ready to take advantage of what's there for you. And most importantly, graduate.
Awesome. Now let's talk about return of investment. So I think this is such an important topic to talk about when we're thinking about college, because you can't talk about college without cost. Anything that is worth it is going to have a cost and something associated with it. Now, you are going to have to understand what makes colleges maybe a little bit more expensive than the other. So you might have most private colleges are going to be a little bit more expensive than public colleges. Public colleges do have opportunities to receive grants, a little bit more tuition-based assistance. Where private colleges are a little bit different regarding financial aid. But when speaking about financial aid and your return of investment, first and foremost, everyone should be applying for the FAFSA. Everyone, okay?
Yes.
So don't allow a school cost to say, I'm not going to apply. Don't allow that, all right? Make sure, but at the same time, I will be honest with you, you need to know what the school costs. I have so many students that apply to it's been my lifelong dream forever and ever, but don't know how much the program costs. You are going to be sticker shocked no matter what. And so it's important to start this process. And not only are you looking at active academic program, not only are you looking at the culture and the campus resources and the facilities, but also looking at the tuition. Some of the tuition and some of the things that you will have to consider are your tuition, room and board, health insurance, student fees, and of course, indirect costs. Now, health insurance can be waived depending on your status. Now, when you're thinking about room and board, you need to be looking at the school once again, I think at most institutions, you must stay on campus freshman year. It's mandatory for most campuses. That's honestly the best year to stay on campus anyways. So you really want to make sure that you understand a policy of what you're paying for. Is a tuition separate from your room and board? Do you have to stay on campus? What are those student fees look like? And I always tell you, please look at the paperwork. Don't just sign over. Sometimes they're looking at indirect costs. They're looking at where you're traveling from.
Correct.
You all are in the West Coast. Most of HBCUs are going to be a flight away, a drive away. And so those are some indirect costs that you are not thinking about. And last but not least, I will tell you, I know you're going to want to get your hair done, your hair cut, your nails done. You're going to want to look fly, going across the strip, going out. Trust me, we are not new to this. We know our culture. I know my young people. You all amazing every time you come into my office. However, those are the indirect costs that we're thinking about. You need to be thinking about study abroad, indirect costs. You're not thinking about that. That is, some schools might have it right there, but most, it is a separate cost. So that's why you also have scholarships.
Yeah. Do not let the price tag scare you guys. That's one thing I share with my seniors, because quite frankly, I mean, how many 17-year-olds have 30, 40 grand a year to pay for college? That's just not reality. So don't let that price tag scare you. Think of it as an investment in yourself, because many of my freshmen will come to college with a brand new car, and that required a loan to kind of finance or lease that vehicle. So if you can take a loan for 25, 30 grand to buy a vehicle, why is it not worth it to invest that in yourself, even if you take a few thousand in loans to get your education? So don't think of it as, man, these loans are going to kill me. No one likes a loan. But quite frankly, many of us don't have that option. But think of it as an investment. I'm going to invest this 20,000 in a loan for 4 years. I'm going to get a good return on that investment. When I get a job that pays me $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 a year, well, it'll be no problem paying back that loan. So again, just be responsible on how you're taking your loans. If you do your homework, doing the FAFSA early in October, which you should be doing already, and adding your top 5 schools on that list, so you can receive that award letter to know, hey, mom, dad, this is how much I'm going to be receiving from these 5 schools. This is my remaining balance. What is doable? What is possible based on your planning and your budgeting? How realistic is it? What schools have out-of-state tuition? One thing that you'll notice, most of the public schools will have some out-of-state costs if you're coming from a different state. And many of our private colleges, especially HBCUs, may not have those out-of-state costs and out-of-state tuition. So do your homework there so you can determine what is really realistic based on your budget and based on your scholarship offers, because you may get a $20,000 scholarship, but with the out-of-state costs, it's almost null and void, because now it takes away that scholarship. Now that scholarship pays for the out-of-state cost. So you're back at zero, back at square one. So again, do those research as this cat talked about there, so you guys can be prepared and get more information about scholarships. You have these wonderful sites down there. UNCF.org is a really good site to check out. Every single year at the end, when the fall semester starts, they have leftover dollars on that website that students just didn't apply for. And yet you're going to take a student loan to cover those expenses. So again, take advantage, do your homework, kind of earn as many scholarships as possible. There's no limit to the amount that you can earn.
So we're almost coming up to the end of this presentation. I know that soon we'll be having an opportunity to answer some of your questions, but as we navigate what to ask during a college fair, during this process, it is important to know what questions to ask, especially as we think about the size, the cost, we think about outcomes, and what other opportunities and topics that we talked about on today during this presentation. Now, what to ask during a college fair? First and foremost, I will tell you, what educational opportunities do you have for me to grow in my area of study? Remember, we talked about academics, okay, and how they align with our passion. That's simply by saying, what majors do you have? Plain and simple. Now, one of the things I will tell you, students, please use your resources. Go online and search the program. I understand if a college is right in front of you, but it is important to do your work. Sometimes you come to us and you're asking questions that you can find online, okay? Do your research, do your homework. It's okay, we want to talk to you, but we also want you to review things that are easy and accessible for you. You'll have to do that in college. And so we want you to start that process now. Also, what type of financial support is available at your college? We just talked about this. Do y'all have scholarships? Plain and simple. Do you have scholarships? And not only that, don't be afraid to ask, what are the scholarship requirements? And if you don't meet those scholarship requirements, there are outside resources. And ask, do you all have any outside resources? Do you all have any external links? I think most of us are promoting internal and external scholarships in some way. Some of us have a lot of internal scholarships, and some of us are very selective and don't have many opportunities for scholarships for more than the top 10% of the class. And so you want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence and at least asking. I would say, don't be afraid of hearing no. It's okay. That's just a new opportunity. Move on. Next thing. What resources are available to assist me to find scholarships while enrolled? We already went over that. What is the culture environment of your campus? Don't be afraid to ask that question. What does that diversity look like? What is the breakdown of the population? Although you are a historically Black college and university, what do your classrooms look like? What are your faculties? What do they look like? And not just in color, but we're talking about in terminal degrees. How do they break up? Where have they studied? What have they done on their resume? What did the student population look like? Where are they coming from? Are they from north, south, east, west, in-state, out-of-state, international? Remember, we talked about support services. What support programs do we have? And what options do you have for campus housing? Campus housing, of course, we all understand that every school is going to be very different when it comes to the housing selection process. So it's important to know what different selections you are able to make, and also the room selection process. And last but not least, what activities are students involved with, and how are you able to get involved? All right. Malik, you're on mute.
I sure was on mute. I was enjoying your presentation. You did a great job.
Go ahead, take it over for me.
Supporting your student. This is a student-led process, 100% truth. No matter what you hear, students are the key to every institution. You guys are the main reason why professors are there, the president is there. Again, you are the customer, because if you're not happy, there's going to be a problem. So remember that you have value there. So make sure you use that to your advantage. So speak up. If you see something you don't like, if you have an idea you want to kind of bring to light, that's something we encourage here on our campus. Students are pretty much making most of the decisions on campus. It's really student-led. We encourage them to become leaders, and we kind of watch them and aid them in that process. But again, every decision is made by the student body. So get involved. I go back to that, getting involved early in the process. You can't complain if you're sitting in your room and you're not involved in the process. So the more involved you are with student activities and SGA and those that are making those decisions, then you have a say in that process, and you can kind of bring your ideas to light to make sure they happen. Encourage your students to practice self-advocacy. Oh, that's without a question. That you should be tapping into those success coaches early in the game, because once you arrive as a freshman, you will most likely find a group of staff members who will be kind of guiding you through that first year process, making sure you're in the right program, make sure you're in the right major. What are you doing as a nurse if you're struggling biology? So make sure you make that connection and become close with some of these advisors, because the more involved you are, the more you bug them, the more they'll remember you. Because some students that I hear from almost every other day, I kind of know them by name now. I see them in my caller right there. I'm like, oh, that's Jeremy again calling. But I like that. The more you kind of do your part, it kind of forces me to say, wow, this kid is really, really wants to make it happen. I'm going to go above and beyond to make sure to help as well. So again, put yourself out there and apply yourself in every situation. Be mindful of the deadlines. Absolutely. High school was a little bit different. College's deadlines mean a little bit more. You miss a certain deadline, that might drop you a letter grade. Doesn't matter if you did A work, because you're turning it a week later, of course, it's not fair to still get it in when everyone else turned it in a week prior to you turning that in. Unless you have previous excuses, try to meet those deadlines, not only in academics, socially. You might be a SGA president. If you set a deadline, you have to hold everyone accountable the same way, because that's the way the world is going to, expect you to perform, to meet deadlines and to be on time and to be accurate with what you do. Navigate the financial aid and scholarship process together, which is 100% true. Get together with your friends. We have a scholarship search party. Every once in a while on the weekends, get with your friends and kind of, hey guys, let's spend an hour or two. Let's just search for scholarships and combine your searches and say, hey, I found 3 here, I found 4 there, and you guys all apply for every scholarship. I mean, if you get 2 or 3 every month, every 2 months, you can kind of hear back from some of these companies. That kind of adds up towards the end of the year. So make it fun. College is kind of like your own world. This is your own mini world, your own mini home. You've always wanted to get out of your mom and dad's house. Now here's a chance to kind of show what that's like. How are you going to handle that? Use that experience and use your friends to your advantage. Some will have skills in certain areas that you may not have. But together, if you guys search together, if you work together as a team, networking is key. You'll be able to make things much easier for yourself when you get there. Be intentional about finding the student's best fit. All right, very good point there. You want to be able to find that fit. And again, you're going to find that support system from your success coaches, and also with the aid of your guidance counselors, your principals, your parents, that will be there as a guide for you. You want to make that decision together so you guys can all be happy with that decision. It's never too early to learn about college. That is correct. Many companies now, or many institutions, are offering programs. Many of them, such as Raise Me, is a good way to kind of tap in as a freshman in high school to earn some micro scholarships as early as your freshman year. There's so many programs you can kind of tap into, just to kind of get a feel for what I need to plan for. If I want to be a pre-med major or go in the medical field, what courses should I be taking as a freshman and sophomore in high school, and get me prepared. When I get there, I kind of ahead of the game. I kind of know what to expect because I've kind of been in that world already. So stay involved and kind of get to know your program. Encourage students to keep college options open. We covered that earlier as well. Again, 5 colleges. Try to get admitted to at least 5 schools before you go on break. Take that opportunity to sit at home with your parents, discuss those options, and figure out how to proceed. Where's the best fit? Where am I going to be successful? Because again, this is an investment in yourself. You don't want to take that lightly. So you have that power in your hand, use it. And I think with that, you guys will have a successful college journey.
All right, thank you guys very much. We're going to take a couple of questions here. How would transferring to a HBCU from out of state work? I've been doing dual enrollment in high school right now and have taken all of my general ed. Would I have to take those again?
For us, I mean, for private schools, you want to target private colleges. In most cases, first of all, there won't be an out-of-state tuition. And chances are, if they're gen ed courses, if college English, college math, those first year and a half, up to your AA degree, 9 out of 10 times they should transfer. It may be a few classes here and there that they may not take based on their curriculum. But for us, if you have a full AA degree, we'll accept every credit. So make sure you do your research. Call each institution. They may have different rules based on their entry requirements, and they can provide you with an update. Call the transfer offices and send them a copy of the transcript and ask them, hey, how many of those credits may transfer if I come to your institution? That may create an incentive to choose that school and say, well, if I go here, I'm going to lose 12 credit hours. But if I choose University X, I get to keep all of my credits. So that makes that decision a little easier for you as well.
Next question. Regarding testing and ACT and SAT, are your colleges going to require that for admission?
Great question. So specifically for Spelman College, we are test optional for the 2020 to 21 academic school year. I definitely will encourage everyone. Most colleges and universities will have this on their website, and also you'll be able to stop in some of the booths on this week to hear a little bit more about what that looks like for other colleges. Malik, how about Bethune-Cookman? What do they look like this year?
Yeah, for us, for acceptance, we're also test optional. However, for academic scholarships, those tests will be required. So what we've done is we've extended some of our deadlines for our scholarship considerations. I mean, I've had conversations with some of the College Board members. Although they may not be available currently in California, the hopes is that they may become available towards the spring or towards the end of the year. So what we're willing to do is, even if you receive your test scores in February, March, and April, we will still take those test scores and utilize them for scholarship consideration. So do not just keep track of that College Board website, follow the ACT and call them and ask them, when should you expect, or when do you think they may become available? And again, typically our December 1st is our priority deadline for scholarships. Again, because of these challenges, we've extended deadlines like many colleges to give you guys still the opportunity to submit those scores later on down the line.
I will say test optional does not mean easy. Understand test optional means that there's more emphasis on the holistic approach or the other parts of the application process. So you need to understand, how does a school evaluate the application with test scores and without test scores, so you can really understand the advantages and disadvantages of sending in your scores. Like Malik said, we encourage you to send in your test scores. For Spelman, we will still review you without test scores for scholarships, but understand that we will be reviewing quite heavily at all classes taken and rigorous courses.
All right, thank you. And how many colleges do you recommend they apply for?
Oh, apply? Like, I know you said at least have 5 by the end of the year, by the winter holidays. Have 5
But that's to be admitted into 5.
to be admitted into 5.
Which means you may have to apply to maybe 8 or 10 to get those 5, because some schools may not offer early decisions. So again, you may want to apply to at least 10 universities at least, in the hopes of receiving at least 5 decisions early to start that process. So again, it depends on your area of what you're looking at. So 10 would be a magic number if you can apply to at least 10 universities, 10 colleges, and then get into 5 by the holidays and kind of, work it down from there.
And I think you need to at least have a reach college. You need to have, what does they say, a college that you know you're going to get into, and one that's kind of like right in the middle, okay? Like, you're going to get into, but you don't know, like, really, really want it, but it could be a possibility. So I definitely would say maximize your opportunities, especially for scholarships and financial aid. Trust me, I see a lot of students, they see a school that they like and they look at the price tag, they get accepted and they can't afford that option. And so, and it's once again due to many external issues, any external things for this student. And so take your time once again in looking up scholarships so you won't be hindered by that price tag.
And to add to that point, I know it could be quite costly to apply to these colleges. So search those sites like a Common Black App or the Common App, where you're able to just complete one application, and with 50, 60 schools having access to your application. So that eliminates that process of having to apply to those 10 schools that we talked about. So if you apply on one of those sites, you can kind of select, okay, 10 schools here, one application, one fee. So be economical and be smart about that process as well.
All right, and we got time for one more question. This is kind of specific to other colleges, so I'm not too sure how this is going to be relevant. Are high school seniors still as likely to get full ride scholarships via these webinars, kind of like how it went last year in person?
Great question. Okay, so what I'm hearing the students say is that and if you attend some of the open sessions with the representatives of the school, such as Spelman or Bethune-Cookman or Johnson C. Smith, will there be an opportunity for you to get on-site admissions and possibly receive a full ride scholarship into these institutions? It all depends on the institution, okay? So I'm not going to say no, because I think it's up to the institution. I know for Spelman, we don't do on-site admissions, nor do we give out scholarships in a virtual setting or in-person setting. And so once again, I think it's important about being able to have the courage and ask those questions to the counselor. I know for some of my partnering schools, they are still doing virtual acceptance and scholarship on-site acceptance. But once again, I think that differs with every college. Once again, I know for Spelman, we do not.
Yes, for like some schools they do, but Bethune-Cookman we do. So for example, since September 15th, what we've done is we've hosted virtual high school visits. For example, if I have a visit scheduled for November 1st, every senior, if you're interested, I'm going to make sure you guys are aware that I'm going to be having this virtual visit on the 1st. Please apply prior to that visit. Please submit your documents, your supporting documents, transcripts, and test scores. For those of you who do, I will complete that evaluation prior to our visit and give you a decision as well as that scholarship offer during our virtual visit. So it's just a matter of how you want to set that up. Some schools are not able to offer those options because they have a more sinuous process of how they make that happen. So for me, again, we're just finding flexibility of ways to serve students, especially during these times. So for us, yes, we do offer on-the-spot acceptance still doing our virtual visits. And if you apply prior to those visits, and I normally stay in contact with these guidance counselors, if you know of those 20 students who signed up, if they apply, email me those transcripts and test scores. I'll personally complete the evaluation. And by the time we meet, we can celebrate those students with their achievements. I'll email you a nice official letter to congratulate you. And at that point, instead of discussing the application process during our visit, we'll be discussing the next steps. You know, how do I earn my scholarship? How do I confirm it? How do I select my room and select my roommates, sign up for orientation so you can get ahead of the game? So we have many of our students right now who are in the process of selecting their dorm rooms for fall 2021. So the urgency is there because we don't want to procrastinate like last spring. We don't know what's going to happen last spring. So take care of your business early because the pandemic happened right during spring break. And many of our students were scheduled to take those tests during the month of March and April. And I'm talking 3.8 students, but for whatever reason, they never took that test. And now they graduated with no test. So that all the hard work you put in for 4 years almost went down the drain because you didn't take that test. And so with some colleges, it's impossible to receive a scholarship without that test score. So again, the fall to me is critical for you to take care of your business because the spring as a senior, the senioritis is going to kick in a little bit. You know, once you get to a spring break, Valentine's Day, you're thinking about grad night, prom. I'm not sure what that looks like this spring. But again, those are all distractions and fun activities you want to enjoy. But if you do your part in the fall semester, it'll be easier and less stressful in the spring for you as you conclude your senior year.